The biggest problem with content marketing is that people underestimate how long it takes to kick in. It can be months or years to yield results, and most startups don't have months or years to wait and find out if these growth tactics are working. So we've built essentially a multi-million-dollar SaaS business on content marketing. But when founders and marketers ask me if they should do it, I always start with this word of caution. It may not be what your startup needs right now. Because a startup usually doesn't have the runway to wait. They need to get customer feedback and usage metrics as fast as possible. And content marketing is slow. Honestly, as slow as marketing can get. So in this video, I'm gonna share when it's safe, or when I think it's safe to begin doing content marketing stuff, how much we've spent, how we've structured our team, and how long it took us to finally see results. By the way, I'll share also how we transitioned from written content into this video content. Remember, the first 5 comments on any of our videos gets free access to our office hours, so make sure you're subscribed with that bell button on. So a startup is a race against running out of money. More specifically, it's a race to find product market fit before you run out of money. Product market fit is honestly this kind of mythical concept that startup people like to throw around, but it is in essence what makes or breaks a company. So Mark Andreessen defines product market fit as being in a good market with a product that can satisfy that market, which honestly, I think it's too abstract. A better way to measure it is when 40% of your customers say that they would be very disappointed if they no longer had access to your product. So companies have been built, raised capital, and failed without ever finding product market fit. And all this blurb is to say that content marketing is a shitty way to go after your product market fit. What you really want to be doing is coming up with a thesis about who your customer could be, putting that product in front of them, and then measuring if your theory about this product is correct. So this cycle doesn't look too different from the lean startup approach. The faster you can go through a cycle, the more chances you will succeed. Now, Google Ads are, for example, a fantastic way of doing this because you can target particular searches that only people of a specific profile would be making. It's not the only way, it's certainly not the cheapest, but it is fast. We started as a presentation platform, and we targeted searches anything around PowerPoint alternatives to presentation builder to presentation software. But customers from those keywords didn't really engage with the product well, and very few of them were converting for us. And the problem was that we were casting too wide of a net. Anyone could be running a search on presentation software, and it wasn't specific enough to build an audience. The good thing was that people use presentations for many things, so we started looking for more specific use cases. After a couple of weeks of testing, we found the keyword, which was pitch deck for us. Turned out that searches related to pitch deck did great for us, customers converted, giving us profitable numbers. So we just started doubling down on this again and again. We doubled down on budget, we doubled down on landing pages, on branding, and even on the product itself, and it worked. Honestly, all from a good Google keyword. But the cycle that made us find that keyword took a month. As a new website with no domain authority or followers, there's no way we could have found an answer like this with any shape or form of content marketing. But once we found it, then it was time to go all in. Okay, so picking your arsenal. We found ourselves with this website with no domain authority. So we understood that we had to create this authority from scratch, and it was gonna take time. And back then we were a small marketing team. Honestly, it was just one other person and me. So we made sure that the search campaigns, the paid search campaigns that were driving growth, continued to operate fine, and that would continue to drive us customers so that we could start moving resources to this new project. So you solve a marketing channel, you put an autopilot and move on. The first absolutely crucial thing you have to decide is where you will host this content, because you're gonna need a CMS. If you're unfamiliar, a CMS is a content management system. So it's like an infrastructure that allows your writers and your marketing team to publish content without needing to code a new page every single time. So very important, once you choose a CMS, going back or changing where you're hosting is risky, it's delicate, and it's incredibly time demanding because you risk losing all the domain authority that you've built. And there are generally 2 schools of thought on how to do this. First, you can host your blog on the same domain as your main page, or you can host your blog as a subdomain, so blog.slidebean.com. We can probably make a whole video about it, so I'm not gonna get into the details. The point is that a CMS will make it a lot simpler for content creators to publish without needing time from your developers. Now, the most popular CMS globally is WordPress. It's free, it's open source, and it has hundreds of plugins and optimizations for SEO, that's search engine optimization. So you essentially have to install WordPress in a hosted server. It's like an operating system that runs on that server. So my recommendation for this is to use Hostinger. It's fairly easy to use and it's pretty fast. In the last few years, they've released this WordPress hosting plan, which already gives you a server with WordPress for as little as $2 a month. So, if you don't know, WordPress is like this open source operating system for your server, for your website. But people have leveraged WordPress to create some of the most famous content sites out there. The TED blog, Microsoft News, The Sun, BBC America, TechCrunch, all of these sites are hosted on WordPress. So after you sign up for Hostinger, they'll run you through this really quick wizard and WordPress will be installed on your server automatically. And then you can pick a template and essentially start writing. So I had this long overdue revamp of my personal website. So I used this opportunity to move it into Hostinger and to show you how quick it is to get set up. Now, from the Hostinger dashboard, you can connect other domains, you can enable SSL, you can add email hosting if you want to have custom email addresses. And then from the WordPress dashboard, you can just edit and publish your content in a second. Setting up a Hostinger account takes a minute. I reached out to the guys from Hostinger and they offered a coupon code for you. So you can go to hostinger.com/Slidebean to access it. They have a 4-year plan, which is already pretty insanely cheap, just $96 for 4 years of hosting. And you can drop an extra 10% discount if you use the coupon Slidebean. Another very important factor here is that in June 2021, Google released an update to their algorithm that essentially puts an incredible value in the site loading speed. In other words, if your site is slow, Google will penalize you and show you're lower than your competitors faster. So to help with this, the guys from Hostinger also have this tool called Lightspeed, which essentially caches your website so that it is served faster. Now, Lightspeed is also compatible with the most common WordPress plugins, such as Yoast's SEO and bbPress and WooCommerce. So it should work well for that. So in our case, we decided to keep everything inside the same domain. So that's what you're doing. You're going to need to bring your landing pages into WordPress. You need to create and then create kind of like a separate blog section so you can start writing. So sharpen your pens. This is what we did for a whole year. We wrote article after article about pitch decks, tearing down famous pitch decks, designing others, creating templates of our own. It was this massive task that saw our team grow from 2 people to 5 people and spend directly around $70,000 promoting this content. Now, our focus during this whole time was SEO. In a nutshell, how well a page ranks depends on how good the content is, which Google measures based on the time on site and the bounce rate, and whether it matches the keywords on the searches that people are making. More recently, again, Google really cares about loading speed and mobile performance. That is also combined with what they call domain authority, which is defined by the domain authority of other pages linking to your domain. So while the algorithm is pretty immensely complex and it's one of Google's best kept secrets, the gist of the matter is that Google ranks good content. That's it. Now, if the content gets published and nobody reads it, Google can't really measure the bounce rate or time on site or the shareability, so it can't figure out if that content is actually good. So the most critical part of this whole exercise was preparing my team, our investors, for a project that was going to take months to maybe show results. It was the first effort that we made that was so long-term. But again, we did it at a time when we had found another channel that we knew was going to drive the growth and that our stats would still look promising for future investors. So it's delicate when you pick to do this. We started this project in January 2016 and effectively tripled our traffic by the end of that year, which also tripled our leads and our revenue. And we did it by publishing about 2 pretty good articles every single week. These weren't articles meant to be viral sensations. They were insightful articles with unique perspectives. They were not just research, re-edits of content that we found elsewhere. We were actually producing new things. And that is not easy. You do need subject matter experts either writing the articles or guiding other ghostwriters. Our articles weren't white papers, but provided something that you couldn't really find elsewhere. Slowly but surely, the landing pages we were promoting rose to the first slots on Google search. So again, a summary, you have to find a perfect keyword so that your content marketing efforts are more narrowed. Once you find it, set aside a good budget and prepare for a long-term effort. I get a common follow-up question to this. Did we do anything before this? Did we warm up the site? We kind of did. We had a blog and I would write articles every other week or so, but they weren't a key marketing strategy. And since these factors are going to take a lot of time to kick in, it's easy to be tempted to begin writing today. And that's not necessarily bad as long as it's not a distraction from your other actually relevant customer driving channels. Now let's get into video content. When we depleted Google search for the keywords that we needed, we started looking for our next long-term marketing bet, which was when we started playing around with video. So YouTube, if you didn't know, is the second largest search engine in the world. So before doing content about what we wanted to talk about, we did content focusing on what people we were looking for. So we rode on a wave of YouTube search before anything. We wrote videos that were targeting searches that other videos weren't answering well, where we could potentially create a better piece of content that would outrank it. Only after we built a follower base, we actually started creating content about topics that we found interesting. And this took us years to figure out. For the first 18 months, we created a few content series that never really picked up, never really worked. And then we did around 12 months of search-focused content. And for the last 24 months or so, we've been focusing on more general startup type content, regardless of the search traffic. The problem with video as a content strategy versus written form is that producing each video is super expensive. To us, which we do all of this in-house, each of these videos costs between $2,000 and $3,000 these days. And we're doing it in-house with our Costa Rica team, which is of course cheaper than a team in the US. I would see that number go to 5,000, maybe 7,000 easily if we did it to a third-party agency. So it would have been an impossible bet for us to produce 18 months worth of content paying $5,000 per video. We would have scratched that campaign super quickly. And even if we knew what we were doing with YouTube and with search, it took us a long time to get it working. Moreover, the content that we create is very clearly speaking to our audience. We don't have to get distracted testing different audiences to see which one converts best. We know that we're talking to you, startup founders, or potentially future entrepreneurs. So I hope this overview gives you a good point of reference to get started if you want to get started, or if you have started, hopefully on how a company our size kind of scale this team. Today we have 6 people on our media team, which are producing videos because videos is our next bet. Content in terms of written content and SEO is now on autopilot because we sort of solved that already. We still produce new content, but that is already one of our biggest main channels. Our focus right now is on solving this new YouTube channel so that we can potentially put that on some sort of autopilot and then move on with a new campaign. Autopilot, by all means, is not kind of like leaving it aside. It's just defining a team and making sure that the management no longer needs to worry and be concerned about this new channel and coming up with new ideas. And then just it has a team that runs it ongoing. But again, I hope you find this useful. Thanks to the guys from Hostinger for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you next week.